Hey, it's Brian Edwards, Sikkim 365. Got Drake Toll to my right, JD Piquel to my left for the post-game show. But first of all, we're going to do our 10 things, which went off a little bit more than that because we had overtime. So number one, if you could erase the film, the offensive line would burn it before they could erase it from this game. Terrell Bernard, though, had a great game. You still have to give that to him. If it could go wrong, it went wrong in the first half. Missed blocks, missed throws, missed field goals. West Virginia was generous to keep Baylor in the game during it. Raleigh Tejada had a great sack. John Mayers missed wide right, then pushed another one, sliding right, and got the clanger. So, this is a learning lesson for Baylor. Something on the road they're going to have to do a little better. But we came out in the second half. Offensive line woes continued, and it just didn't get better. The offense got stagnant most of the second half as well, and the defense kept bailing them out. And I'll say this, John Lovett scored. The ball was over. So, this game could have been a little different, but number 9 is the officiating shouldn't decide a game, and Baylor allowed it to be for much of the game. And you can't let that happen on the road. Fields for West Virginia, he should be suspended for the first half of the next game for that hit on R.J. Sneed, and prayers up to R.J. Sneed on the possible concussion. More than likely, as we saw, R.J.'s feet essentially were not working going off the field. Josh Fleek saved the day right there at the end of the game. We got free football. Ben Sims then came in and, tied in. The new offenses use them. Great to see Ben get the touchdown. But now Baylor needs to get ready for Oklahoma State, get some defensive linemen back, get some, Ashton Logan back as well. And I'll let these guys take over, do the post game. Call in 254-339-1122.
This is the Sikkim 365 Radio Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac postgame show.
Here comes the blitz. Brewer well protected. One-on-one in the end zone. R.J. Sneed. He's got it for a Baylor touchdown.
Here's Drake Toll and JD Piquel.
It's you, yeah? Take it. And we are live from the Texas Farm Bureau Insurance Broadcast Center. Sikkim 365 postgame show. I'm JD Piquel alongside the man, the myth, the legend, Drake Toll, recapping a Baylor loss, unfortunately, 27-21 in overtime in Morgantown. Just something about Morgantown not sitting well with the Baylor Bears. Drake, first off, how you doing?
JD, it could be better, especially after that one. The first half was dismal. I mean, absolutely terrible. Not good football. Statistically, from a football standpoint, it just wasn't fun to watch. You go into the second half, things stay almost as boring. There just wasn't a lot of action in this one. Even if you're a fan of defense, I think you saw a lot of holes, not only offensively, but defensively as well. Just not a lot of great takeaways in this one, especially statistics side, too. Your upside, where is it? There's not a lot of it.
Everyone just looks so out of sorts. Schematically, nobody knew what they were doing. I mean, I get it, a new scheme, so you're kind of trying on a new pair of shoes for the first time, trying to get them worn in, but offense, defense. Granted, a lot of bright spots on defense, but as a whole, they just couldn't put it together. We got 2 calls coming in. First caller right here. Let's give them, put them on the air right here. Caller, you're on with Sikkim 365 post-game. What's going on?
What's up?
How you doing? What's your question?
How are y'all?
Doing pretty well. How about you?
Man, pitiful, unsportsmanlike conduct call late in the game. Josh Fleeks. Apparently Morgantown's a no-flex zone, so...
Hey, what we saw with that was the flex after the play. What I think it was is he stared down one of the West Virginia defensive backs coming into the end zone. Usually the stare down is going to warrant a flag. Now, did it in that situation? No, not whatsoever. But if you look at the flex is completely normal. The West Virginia touchdown ensuing after that one, you get the whole team rushes the field. Half of Morgantown's all out there, celebrating, and there is no flag. So the fact they had a flag on that for R.J. Sneed didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't understand. So Fleeks has been working out quite a bit in the offseason as well, so he had the biceps looking really, really big. If I'm him, I'm flexing too in this situation. Big touchdown for the Bears there. Don't understand why they had that call. Really appreciate you calling in. We got another call here from the man, the myth, the legend, Tim Longoria. Put him on the air here.
Talk to us, Tim.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just had a question about, what does this mean for, the rest of the season and, standings in the Big 12? If we lost to West Virginia and we just couldn't generate anything on offense, what does it mean for the rest of the games? What are we going to do?
Tim, let me shoot you straight, brother. I think Kansas is your FCS game in conference play. Kansas is the one game that you get to warm up on everything else, and you have West Virginia this week. West Virginia's not one of the better teams in the Big 12. You're not playing at Oklahoma, not at Texas, even at TCU, who looked really good today, Oklahoma State as well. You're playing a West Virginia team that's supposed to sit on the bottom half of these 10 teams. And you lose in a game that was again, I think dismal is the best word you put on there for it. You lose in a game like that. What do you expect the rest of the season? I don't think the outlook is great moving forward. When you look at your Oklahoma States, your Texas, your Oklahomas, those teams, if Baylor plays like they did today, it's going to be ugly, JD.
That's the thing. If you play like you did today, you're not beating anybody. You can kiss all your aspirations for postseason, Big 12 championships, all the rings, all that. That's gone. But here's the great news about college football. Here's the great news about football in general. It's a one-game season each and every week. You get a new chance to go 1-0 every week. In West Virginia, you didn't play your best. You got a lot of improving to do. You got a lot of things to put together. Coaching, special teams, offense, defense, all of it was not great today. But you got a chance to put together next week.
We got text rolling in here. One text says, "When do we bench Charlie Brewer?"
Oh,
okay.
Take it easy on
think
Chuck,
you
man.
and I are on a bit of a different wavelength here with Charlie Brewer.
Yeah.
So you've got the offensive line. I think you're putting a lot of blame on those guys, which I think you can. It's not even that it's a young group necessarily. Most of those guys had playing time last year, and you really expect them to be solid this season. But I think Charlie Brewer, when he does have time, he's not doing anything that's amazing. Nothing effective. This guy started for 4 years, JD, the second 4-year starter in program history, and he doesn't look like a 4-year starter in a game against a West Virginia team that, again, is a bottom dweller in the Big 12 still.
I think you hit it on the head, though, but I put so much blame on the offensive line, not because they're bad up front personnel-wise, but these are 3 guys that haven't played together in terms of, there's 3 new guys that are all getting into the rotation. You had 3 guys playing again today that were new from last week. But as a whole, man, I mean, Brewer's tough as nails. He's competitive. He's clutch. Not quite as clutch as you would want today, but I think the thing is, when you look at this roster, who else do you put in the game besides Charlie? I know people like Zeno, people like Gary, but as a whole, man, I don't think you have a better option on your team besides Charlie Brewer. You just got to dance with the one that brung you, and he's as a starter, he's got a pretty solid record. Not in the cards today, obviously.
Here's the thing: when the offensive line implodes like they did, especially late in the game today, Charlie Brewer, he's somewhat mobile. We looked at 18 touchdowns on the ground. He's got almost 1,000 career rushing yards. But at the end of the day, Gary Bohannon is the guy you want taking snaps. You're going to have a quarterback that has that mobility. So if you get in a situation, you saw it. Gary Bohannon comes in where it's that second and goal situation there late in the game and gets it all the way down to the 1-yard line. Gary Bohannon has that kind of mobility. Charlie Brewer might not have it at his level necessarily. So I think bringing Gary in, seeing what he could do there was really solid. What you said it. Dance with the one that brought you here. So you hear that, hey, when do we see Gary? When do we see Zeno? You don't. You see Charlie Brewer, who's a 3-year, make it 4-year starter, dance with the brung you here. But at the same time, JD, you got to expect more out of a guy, especially in a game like today, to produce. Now, so that question, you get, when do we bench Charlie? You talked about Charlie Brewer. You talked about the line not meeting par today. But the play calling, what did you see from Larry Fedora today? Did you like it?
Like it, didn't love it. You just I think it's so hard in game 2 with a new staff to have a sense of identity, and they're still finding their identity today. It's tough because it came at the expense of a loss to a West Virginia team that a lot of people think probably shouldn't be losing to, but at the same time, I think you're still just getting into your rhythm. So there's so much to be said for that, and there's so much that is still going to evolve as the season progresses. What we see in game 2 will not be what we see in game 6 or 7, so there's a lot to be said there. Another text coming in again, 254-339-1122. Talk to us, call us, text us, give us all your deep, dark secrets. We're here for you. Me and Drake Toll. What kind of accountability do the refs have after this game with the bad calls, and is it time to sit Brewer? We just answered the second part of that question.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what kind of accountability these refs have after this game?
I think we don't have to address it again. You don't sit Charlie Brewer. Charlie Brewer, I don't think you can emphasize enough. Dance with the one that brung you here. Yep. Charlie Brewer's your 4-year starter guy. You want him to play better, but right now he's still your quarterback. I think to answer the first part of that question, JD, we're almost 10 minutes in the show. We haven't mentioned it yet. The officiating today.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that players play, coaches coach, officials officiate, fans fan. Period. Yep. We don't complain about it. There are ways for Baylor to win the game today with or without the help of the officials, but at the end of the day, John Lovett crossed the goal line. He had a touchdown. At the end of the day, you've got an obvious targeting call that's not called for targeting. At the end of the day, an excessive celebration call that didn't make sense. Yep. There were different pieces of this game that really hurt Baylor that just didn't add up.
There's so much to it because as a former player, you just hate the excuse, the refs cost us the game. The stripes, they don't like us. The zebras don't like us. That's why we lost the game. I hate that excuse, but at the same time, John Lovett's in the end zone, Drake. Yeah. Half his body's in the end zone, and that's 7 points that Baylor needed. You don't have to do overtime to do that.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot of, I think, things to be said for not having to be in that position, but as a whole, man, I hate the excuse the refs cost of the game. Baylor has to play better. I don't care who you are. I got to play better if you're Baylor.
Baby, we're in the Texas Farm Bureau Broadcast Center. You're watching Drake Toll and JD Piquel on Sigum 365 post-game show. Call in or text. We got texts coming in left and right. Calls coming in as well. We're going to take a call here again, 254-339-1122. Let's take this call. Caller, you are on the air.
Wheeler
Talk to us again one more time.
Hey, this is Jack Wheeler speaking.
Talk to us, Jack.
Here's all I'm going to say. I know a lot of people are going to put the blame on Charlie.
Okay.
And he made mistakes this game, and I'm not going to deny that at all. But, I see a lot of people keep talking about, hey, why don't we put Zeno in right now? And I believe Zeno's got a high ceiling for the future.
Yeah.
But my question is to people, if Zeno is not better than Charlie right now at this moment, then why can't people understand that's why they're not putting him in?
So here's my point with that. You got Jacob Zeno, who comes into the Big 12 championship game last year. Zeno ends up coming in the Sugar Bowl as well. You got Kane. We saw him play at different points. He throws that touchdown to Ebner that goes 75 yards, and it's as if Jacob Zeno is the savior of the Baylor football program in that one moment. What people don't understand, he went 2 for 7 in that game. Yeah. Zeno's putting the ball where it needs to be on a couple of passes there, but at the end of the day, his statistics are not going to match up to what Charlie Brewer can do. I agree with you 100%, Jack. Thanks so much for calling in. And I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, Charlie Brewer is still better than Jacob Zeno. He's got a high ceiling. Zeno's going to be great. But when can we stop talking about Zeno, or even Gary? I think we need to run Gary into different formations when we really need him. But at the end of the day, we've said it. We're going to keep saying it. Charlie Brewer's your guy.
Just such a small sample size, but hey, I'm with you. We got to stick with Charlie. Another caller here. We got the lining up, man. I love it. Again, 254-339-1122. Got another caller here talking some Baylor football. Caller, you were on the air with Sick on 365 Radio. What's your question?
Yes, this is BU01 Bear. Hey, man, so I don't have Charlie, didn't have a great game, but that's okay.
Yeah.
The offensive line did not help him out. The wide receivers did not help him out. But why did we not start off running the ball when we had over 200 yards of offense, 200 yards of rushing offense last week?
So
that's the thing that killed me.
JD, I know you and I talked about this earlier on. With 9 minutes left in the second quarter, Baylor had negative 19 rushing yards. At that point, the leading rusher on the team was Treston Ebner with 1 yard.
Yep.
A play later, the leading rusher on the team was Gary Bohannon with 2 yards. 9 minutes left in the second quarter.
My skin's crawling hearing these stats.
The line didn't play well, but at the end of the day, running the football didn't work.
Yeah.
Running the football didn't work.
And that was my biggest objection with our scheme. It was a lot of left and right runs. It wasn't a lot of, hey, let's go north and south, a lot of east and west stuff. And when you have two backs like Ebner and Lovett, those guys have wheels. And when they get downhill behind some good blocking, which granted there wasn't a ton of today, anytime you're getting north and south, at least trying to go north and south, even if you're not catching big gains, you're wearing down that defense and making them work, making them stay honest, which opens up the entire playbook. So I don't hate the fact that they weren't running it, not running as frequently. I hate more they weren't running north and south. Got another caller here coming in. Let's see. Let's get them here on the air. April Toll, it looks like. You know her, Drake?
No comment.
April, you're on the air with Sick on 365 Radio.
Guys, listen.
That's a really deep voice, April. Come on, April.
Yeah.
Caller, we got you. What's up?
You're on.
Defense, guys. Listen. Charlie Brewer can't carry the rest of the year. He just can't. He can't do it by himself. Our defense did not show up today.
So, Caller, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I think the Baylor defense stepped up in a big way. West Virginia had the ball a lot today. A game of attrition. You and I talk about it on Friday nights. It was a game of attrition for West Virginia. But I feel like the Baylor defense stepped up where they needed to, especially 7 points in the first half allowed, 7 points in the second half. When West Virginia only scored 2 touchdowns in 4 quarters of play. Yeah. It's your offense that can't put points on the board.
You look at the first half. Baylor defense is keeping them in this game.
Absolutely.
Terrell Bernard almost single-handedly is keeping them in this game. So to have, I don't think I'm going to disagree again with April Toll. Again, a deep voice by April Toll. I don't know if that's your sister or not.
That's good stuff.
But again, they were in that game because of the defense. And then down the stretch, you can only ask so much. I mean, if 27 points allowed in a Big 12 football game, oftentimes, more often than not, you're going to be in that game. You're going to have a shot to win it. And Baylor did, and that's all you can ask. The offense got to play better. Offense got to capitalize when it's time to get in the end zone there.
This is Drake Toll alongside JD Piquel in the Petty Clinic Low T studio. You're listening to the Sick'em 365 postgame show. We got calls coming in left and right, messages coming in as well, 254-339-1122. Let's take this call. Caller, you are on the air.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. Today I was really frustrated with the offensive coordinating, obviously, but I think it's early in the season. We don't realize these guys haven't been together a whole lot. I don't know if that's an excuse, but, we're standing back in the pocket and nothing's developing, and then we wait till late in the game before we start running those crossing routes, and the beautiful tight end play creeping into the backside where we kind of fade, Charlie out and then get defense going one way. Kind of frustrating we waited that long to start running those types of plays, but that's the stuff we're going to have to do when we run into a defense like this, and it's just kind of frustrating to see it took that long.
JD, I think one thing we're going to note on that, look at Sims. Sims scores a 25-yard touchdown in overtime. What happens when you throw the ball to the tight end? The field opens up. You got a whole nother receiver waiting there just to catch the football.
And the Twitterverse does not lie, Drake. Men lie, women lie. Twitter does not lie.
Boom.
Oftentimes. And they were upset about that. I think that was kind of a microcosm of what I was seeing on my timeline. Why are we not stretching the ball down the field? We got guys like Tyquan Thornton who can run. Man, he runs close to a 4.2 laser, a legitimate 4.2 40. You got guys like R.J. Sneed that can stretch the field. So all of that, in a sense, needs to be something where you're taking advantage of your playmakers and playing to their strengths. So I don't love that we weren't stretching the field more early on.
I'm going to keep my analysis short. Larry Fedora, we talked to him in August, and what he told us, he said, man, I didn't watch a ton of film of Baylor last year.
Sure.
So maybe he's still not familiar with what he has. And granted, it's still young, and you got a young coaching staff, or a new coaching staff, I should say.
Yeah.
But if you're not watching film, if you're not watching who your guys are, how are you going to know about them? It seems like the first thing you do when you take the OC job is to look at the team you've got. We got another caller here.
I don't believe he's not watching film. I don't buy that for a second.
Maybe you're not buying it. Maybe it's coach talk. Caller, you're on the air. Caller, we got Kimber. Kimber?
You were on the air.
Nothing, JD. I don't think we have it. We have a text line open right now, though. Here's this one from all the way in the 501. That's Central Arkansas. Does this game hurt Baylor recruiting, JD? What do you think?
You know what? I think it's too early. Recruits are going to remember more so how you finish season, how you start it. If Baylor were to win out, let's say, they're going to have no problem landing recruits. Don't see this being an issue unless this is the beginning of the end for Baylor, and I don't think that'll be the case. I think this team is resilient. Coach Orvando's culture. These guys have been through too much to let this be the way that they unravel. I don't see this being an issue, Drake.
We are in the Texas Farm Bureau Broadcast Center. Myself, Drake Toll, alongside JD Piquel. Baylor 21, West Virginia 27 is the final. A 6-point loss to the Bears in Morgantown. 0-5 altogether. We'll be right back on the Baylor Sikkim 365 postgame show. Don't go anywhere.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
And welcome back to the Texas Farm Bureau Broadcast Center. You're listening to myself, Drake Toll, alongside Baylor football alumni J.D. Piquel on Central Texas #1 caller-driven digital radio hour, the Sikkim 365 Baylor postgame show. Call us or text us at 254-339-1122.
Drake, we got a text coming in. During the break, someone says, maybe I missed the beginning of the show. Did Drake introduce himself? Sorry, I've never heard of him. Does he have a screen name? Great job so far. Now, Drizzy Drake actually takes care of the Look live stream on the call for Look live stream for China Spring Football. Sophomore class president, heartthrob extraordinaire. You have anything else you want to add to your resume to let the people know who you are?
Man, we had so much content to get into at the beginning of the show. I forgot to say hello, but I'm certainly glad to be here with Sikkim 365 on the air for the post-game show. And JD, our callers are flooding in today. We got 3 calls in line right now, and they continue to come. You guys hang tight with us. Let's go hit those right now. Jack, talk to us, brother. What you got?
Yeah, Drake, I just gotta wonder, how does Baylor go from absolutely dominating Kansas to then losing to what I would consider an okay West Virginia?
So I think, Jack, the one thing that really hurts Baylor today especially is being on the road in Morgantown. There's something about that aura. I don't know, like it's not mile high. Is there a specific nickname for the backwoods of West Virginia?
Not that I know.
Not that either of us know of, but there's something in the water over there that Baylor just doesn't play well. They're now 0-5 all-time in Morgantown. And I don't think West Virginia, again, is one of the better teams in the Big 12, but I think Baylor has now shown they're going to be a middle-of-the-pack team. They came in as a middle-of-the-pack team last season, and people said, hey, maybe there's some upside. Maybe they could do better 11-1.
Yeah.
I think this year it's hey, Baylor's a middle-of-the-pack team, and they actually are going to be a middle-of-the-pack team, but you have a first-year head coach.
Yeah.
You expect that.
Let's say this, too. West Virginia and Kansas are on very different levels in terms of how you're building up a program. Kansas is still losing to Coastal Carolina. West Virginia is taking care of business against Power 5 teams. You know, maybe not taking care of business, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. And so all that's to say, Baylor's going to be fine. Baylor's going to be fine. They probably got lucky in some games last year. A lot of Charlie Brewer magic that came to fruition. But this year's a new year. I don't think that there's that much surprise with Baylor losing to West Virginia. I think the spread was, 1.5 going into this game. So it wasn't like everybody and their mother was just banging, a Baylor victory. But all that's to say, they're going to be fine. Let's all just pump the brakes a little bit. We're not benching anybody. We're 1-1. It's going to be okay. There's going to be more football. I promise. Okay, another caller coming in here now. Let's see what they got to say here. Caller, you're on the air with Sikkim 365 Radio.
Yo, what's up, guys? I just wanted to ask, what do y'all think hurt us the most in this game? The penalties, the lack of connection between like quarterbacks and receivers, or just straight up quarterback play? What do y'all think just caused that loss?
I think the biggest thing that I would say is inexperience. And not inexperience from a standpoint of players to players, but more so players to coaches. This is their first time really having to go into a hostile environment with a new staff, with a new scheme, and that's so hard to pick up. And I think that gets lost in the fact that there was, during the pandemic, you're not getting all the preparation you would. So to have a new staff and to have less time to prepare, it hurts you so much, Drake. So I think that really honestly showed its nasty head today.
Shepard, you're on the line with us. Shep, talk to us, brother.
Hey, man, you guys are doing a great job. Just wanted to ask. I found myself the whole game thinking that there was going to be a quarterback change, and I haven't been listening to your guys' show, but, did it kind of feel like insanity out there with doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, or do you think that it was a good call for Coach Aranda to leave Charlie Brewer in for the whole game and you just kind of bite the bullet with the loss?
I feel like Coach Aranda has really passed that responsibility on to Larry Fedora, the guy that built Mitchell Trubisky into the number 2 pick in the NFL draft out of North Carolina. A lot of people thought maybe he's going to turn Charlie Brewer into a similar guy that's going to be higher on draft charts after this season. And I think that's what you're looking for in these first couple of games. But I'm not sure that's going to happen, JD, and especially at this rate. So I think what you're seeing today as a football fan, as just a fan of good football, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see, okay, we keep doing these same things. Nothing's changing. And the Baylor offense today had just 231 total yards. JD, 33 times we carried the football. 27 rushing yards. I don't like that ratio.
It's so tough because there's no balance. When you're not balanced, they put so much more pressure onto the quarterback and more pressure on the offensive line because when they know that you can't run the football, those defensive ends are pitting their ears back and going after you. So the offensive line, you're already on your heels because you have such a hard pass rush, and that quarterback, the clock in your head is already much more sped up because you're getting more pressure on you. And so there's so much that just is still to be worked out. There's so many kinks that still need to be worked out. And I think one of the big things that people don't like about Brewer, I think why he has a tough go with some of these fans is because he's not flashy. He's not throwing for 500 yards a game. Yeah. He's not airing it out. He's a guy he's a system quarterback. He's going to play efficient. He's going to manage the game, and he's a guy that's just going to try and do his job and do his 111th. He's not necessarily going to light up any stat sheets. So I think that's one of the big things that gives him a bad rep. We got another text coming in here. What do you think about the football players actively using Tinder among the COVID-19 pandemic?
And
Drake,
you're covering that one, my friend.
Okay, you know what I'm going to say? I think that is probably fake news. I'm going to go ahead and say that there's not. I'm going to go ahead and believe that the Baylor football team is smarter than that.
Right.
I do like that there's concern for these players' well-being. As a whole, I would say that's probably not all the way true. I do appreciate that text, though. Again, 254-339-1122. Call us, text us. We are here for you. Now, Drake, we saw today, going into Morgantown, it's just been a tough place for Baylor to play. Why does this place not agree with Baylor football? I do not understand. Help me understand.
There's something about it. It's a hexy. Long, long ago, there was an ancient witch who put a curse on Morgantown, West Virginia, and said that if anyone comes into this town from Baylor University, they are going to lose at everything they do.
That's what it is. And I think, especially with it was the strangest football game. I tweeted out. It was the strangest football game I think I've ever seen.
Shameless plug to your own Twitter?
Yeah, I mean...
What'd you tweet? Give it to me.
I'm not going to say it's not, but it felt so strange from the number of turnovers. There was it was only families and friends in the stands. I think it was. There wasn't like there was a minimum attendance. Everything about this game just felt so off, and so I think. Those are just some. I mean, the thing though, those great teams, they find a way to win the games.
Let's say it. It was boring football at times. We saw against Kansas, there was a lull in the third quarter where you thought, okay, when are we going to start playing football again? When are things going to be exciting? Nobody's tuning into this game. Barstool Big Cat tweeted, he said, Baylor sucks. And at the end of the day, I don't think Baylor sucks whatsoever. This is a bowl team this year that I still think can find their way into the top half of the Big 12. But at the end of the day, they're not doing things that are flashy. They're not garnering a lot of attention. And it's not fun football to watch right now.
No, and I think that's another thing that doesn't sit well with fans, especially when you're winning in boring fashion, people are okay with it because winning is exciting. But when you're losing in boring fashion, we're not throwing the ball downfield enough. We're not putting the right person at quarterback. There's problems all over. There's a culture problem. All of these things just come together to make just a big panic. And I think it's a one-game season. There's still more to be worked out. We can all relax a little bit.
JD, got a text here. Somebody coming in from out of state, so they didn't get to catch all of the game. What were some key moments for West Virginia, and how does Baylor bounce back after this game? Key moments for West Virginia. Do you want to know some of the big stats that really pop out for me?
Give it to me.
Nothing, JD. West Virginia didn't do anything flashy whatsoever. There weren't any necessarily huge moments for the Mountaineers. You want to know what was really big in this game? That Baylor forced 6 turnovers and lost a football game when they only turned the ball over one time. How do you force 6 of them? And I'm going to go ahead and give it to you.
Give it to
50% of those on the West Virginia side are completely on the Mountaineers. Baylor didn't even have to do anything to force those. West Virginia walked themselves into turning the ball over. But at the end of the day, Baylor holds the football, only turns it over once. West Virginia's got 6 of them. I'm not looking at necessarily what worked for West Virginia. I'm now looking at what didn't work for Baylor.
I think after a loss like this, you really got to go look in the mirror. It's okay. Look at the man in the mirror. See, what did we do wrong? Because I don't think they matched up poorly against West Virginia.
Right.
I don't think that 9 times out of 10 we lose to West Virginia. I think this was really a situational game where you just dropped the ball in a lot of different areas of this game. The penalties. Every time you're playing from behind the sticks, those are just going to hurt you so many times. And so that was something that Baylor continued to not be able to get out of their own way. We're going to take it to the break here, Drake. It sound good to you?
JD, it's myself, Drake Toll, JD Piquel in the Petty Clinic Low T Studio, the Tech #1, Central Texas #1, caller-driven digital radio hour, the Sikkim 365 Baylor postgame show. Call in, text in, 254-339-1122. Take it to a break and be right back in the studio.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trust, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to the Petty Clinic Low T Studio. You're listening to myself, Drake Toll, alongside Baylor football alum J.D. Piquel on Central Texas' #1 caller-driven digital radio hour. Sikkim 365 Baylor postgame show. Call us, text us, 254-339-1122. Ingrain it, 254-339-1122.
Get it tatted.
JD, another across my forehead if we can. JD, we talked about it coming into that last break. Where does Baylor go from here? You've got your bye week, and then you've got Oklahoma State. I think if I'm going to give like one piece food for thought here, it's find a vaccine for COVID.
Right.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, you've got to get healthy, not even from necessarily an injury standpoint, from a COVID standpoint. That's setting you back right now.
COVID has been huge. They got to be able to get healthy. I think you hit it on the head. Second to that, I would say you got to kind of edit what you want to do offensively. It felt so much like they just don't have a scheme offensively. They don't have an identity offensively. And so anytime you go on the road without knowing who you are into an environment like that where you just are playing such a dominant defensive line and you still don't know what you're doing offensively on the offensive line, very hard to be successful. And so I think two big things during the bye week: get healthy, figure out who you are.
Text coming in, calls coming in, 254-339-1122. We've got Gary Brown here. Gary, class of 71, says, we don't have a quarterback problem. We have a passing scheme problem. Receivers are covered like a blanket both games. Too much talent. This is inexcusable. So I would tend to agree there, too.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I think Charlie Brewer is not maybe what the hype. Sometimes he doesn't live up to the hype, and that's fine. That's whatever. At the end of the day, though, you've got to set him up for success. A guy like that, 4-year starter. It's a broken record. The guy can win football games 11-1 in the regular season last year. The cardiac kid, he's got 7 game-winning drives at the end of it over the last 2 seasons, JD. I don't think it's a Charlie Brewer problem at the end of the day.
I love what he said about it's a scheme problem. And that's the biggest thing right now. I think the biggest thing that scheme should do for you is put your best players in position to make plays. You saw them kind of do that in the beginning of the game. They ran a quick out to Tyquan Thornton, tried to get him the ball in space a few times. But if I'm Charlie Brewer, I'm saying, man, I got all these horses in my stable. I got Lovett, Ebner, I got Snead, I got Thornton. All these guys can run. Even Lovett out of the backfield is a threat to catch the ball. We saw it last week. Ebner's a threat to catch the ball out of the backfield. I want to see these guys get out in space downfield and let them stretch the defense. And when you stretch the defense more, it opens up the run game. It opens up those crossing routes. So I would 100% agree with this. The scheme needs to be adjusted to help these players succeed.
Here's a text coming in from Wiley. Mr. Wiley says, with a tough loss like this, where do we go from here? How does this team pick it up next week? And I'll tell you, they don't. You got a bye week, and that's so crucial for this Baylor team is to take it in, say, all right, guys, look, you learned a lot today. Yep. What did you learn against Kansas? Not a ton, aside from Treston Edmonds, a really good football player. But against West Virginia, now you have a ton of holes that are really exposed. Going to be a learning curve here. Again, you rest up in the bye week, and you learn.
Yeah, and this can be the biggest blessing for Baylor football if they let it. Anytime you take a loss and then have a week to look at it, to reevaluate the film, to get healthy, and to use that as motivation the rest of the way, this could be a very, very big turning point for Baylor football if they were to use it the right way. We got another text coming in here. It says, missing 3 field goals was the difference in not overcoming a bad day on offense.
Yeah.
Kind of a mouthful, I got to agree.
I think at the end of the day, it's not the official's fault.
Nope.
At the end of the day, I don't even know if we can pin it, it's all the coaches, it's all this. There were just little things that didn't go right for Baylor that really caused them to lose this football game. John Lovett, half of his body is in the end zone, and instead West Virginia's got the football, and offsides gives them the ball at the 5-yard line, and they're able to retake it. Now, if Lovett scores, does that change the end of this game, the outcome of the game? I'm not sure. You can't say. But I'll tell you what, if John Mayers makes 2 field goals and Noah Rauschenberg makes 1, Baylor wins this game.
Here's the thing. How many carries do you think Treston Ebner had off the top of your head, if you had to guess? Well, you got the stats in front of you.
7?
6. That's 6 carries for Treston Ebner.
He's your best guy on offense,
and he needs to be touching the football. He needs to be touching the football a lot more than 6 times in the run game. So, I mean, that's where you start. Right there, you got to have more of an identity on offense, and we've kind of pounded that the rest of the way this show. But at the same time, one of those field goals makes us a different game. And you hate depending on special teams. Kickers get a bad rap as it is. I don't want to be that guy coming down on these kickers. I know for the brand is a big thing right now, and I don't want to be an enemy of the brand. But at the same time, 3 points, man, you got one job. You got to make kicks.
You're John Mayers. Both your field goals that you kicked are within range. They don't get blocked. You got plenty of time. This guy has made some clutch time field goals.
Oh, yeah.
And now the question is okay, you can make the clutch time one. When are we going to make that random field goal with 7 minutes left in the first quarter? It's going to be the difference in the game in the end, because that's what it was today. It was the difference in the game. We missed 2 field goals that he's supposed to drain. John Mayers is not some new kicker. The guy he's got the clutch gene last year. 3 field goals against TCU to help win Baylor that football game, the winner against Iowa State. And then today, you go 0 for 3. agree. If you don't have that part of your special teams in a game in Morgantown where you lose in double overtime, then what do you have?
Got to be an all-the-time thing. You wonder if no fans, I guess not no fans, but less fans, does that kind of mess with you psychologically? It seems like that could be a little bit of a freaky thing if I'm a kicker. When will our O-line be passable? How do we not prepare for the Stills brothers who completely dominated us last year? I'm going to say it. I think it's hard to prepare for two of those guys. I mean, maybe you get one player that you can prepare for and kind of scheme for, but you got time, or anytime you have two defensive linemen like that, you kind of just got to be creative with how you're taking them out of the game plan. So to have them be so impactful today, you kind of just got to shrug your shoulders and say, yeah, maybe we can prepare better, but at the same time, you knew they're going to have an impact on this game.
We're in the Petty Clinic Low T studio. You're listening to myself, Drake Toll, alongside Baylor football alum J.D. Piquel on Central Texas' #1 caller-driven digital radio hour, the Sikkim 365 Baylor postgame show. Call us, text us, 254-339-1122. We got a couple of text here messages, J.D., that look about the same, and it's talking about Charlie Brewer. How does a senior quarterback not know how to steadily go through progressions? That's one of them. And another one talks about how we can't really pass it further than 10 yards trusting Charlie Brewer. Here's my question, JD.
Talk to me.
When have we been able to throw it past 10 yards and trust Charlie Brewer? It's not like he's just going to grow in one night and be this amazing quarterback that's going to come out and sling it like Trevor Lawrence. He's not Trevor Lawrence. He's Charlie Brewer.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I understand why he's taking so much heat because you're the quarterback. When you win, you're the man. When you lose, it's all your fault. But at the same time, if you want to be logical about this, right? And we're logical on this show. I like to think you're a logical guy. You're a sophomore class president. I graduated college somehow by the grace of God. But
you are like 28 now. Congratulations, by the way.
29 today, actually.
Congratulations. Another year in the books,
Another year in the books. But as a whole, this is the greatest team game on earth, meaning you win and you lose as a team. And that is, I mean, as cliche as that sounds, that is the honest to goodness truth. So, yeah, maybe Charlie didn't have his best game, but I tell you what, there's 10 other guys around him that need to do a better job and allow him to be a little more successful with his game.
And especially in this offense, stop asking so much out of Charlie Brewer. He's not the savior of this football program. You got a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator, and Charlie Brewer is not a Heisman candidate. He is a good football player that can throw the ball well, 10 yards and shorter.
Sure.
At the end of the day, though, don't expect him to go airing it out, son. You've got
Charlie alone.
Okay, Charlie Brewer's a good football player. But stop asking him to throw 50-yard bombs. We are not Clemson.
No, we're not Clemson.
We are not Oklahoma. That's not our brand. We're going to run that little pro style. We're going to dip the ball down to Ebner. We're going to dip it to Lovett. We're going to run the football. It's not going to be flashy. If Baylor's going to win games this season, it's going to be off kickoff returns or 5-yard touchdowns inside the 10-yard line. It's not an explosive offense. We're going to have to get used to it.
They're going to do it their way. Does Dave Aranda have anything to do with this loss, one text asks?
Ooh.
Hard to say not when you're the head coach.
Give me no. Give me no.
Wow.
And here's why. Because I think Dave Aranda has what? The defensive mind.
Okay.
Dave Aranda is going to take care of a whole lot of things on the defensive side of the football. On the offensive side, I'm going to put the offensive woes in the lap of the offensive line, Larry Fedora, and really how we're scheming to be able to be successful. Here, JD, at the end of the day, you had negative 20 rushing yards in the first quarter as a football team that last week ran the ball all over Kansas. You did not climb over 30 rushing yards in the game on 33 attempts. What more? How do you pin that on the offense?
What you're saying.
When are we going to change something? When do you say? I think somebody mentioned earlier. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the exact same thing, expecting a different result. We were doing that. We never really changed anything.
I completely agree with you that there's a lot to be pinned on the offense, especially Coach Fedora. I'm going to say Dave Aranda is not without blame with this one. Anytime you're the head coach of a college football program like Baylor, you're a CEO, meaning you are establishing the culture. Anytime you go on the road and put a performance like they did, they just didn't look ready to play. They just seemed like mentally they weren't all there. They weren't with it. They weren't like they were sharp. They weren't sharp at all, actually. And so anytime that goes awry, I think you got to pin a lot of it on the head man, Coach Aranda. And so I think that's honestly where I would fall on that matter.
I could see it. Shoot us a text, 254-339-1122. He is the head man. We got another text coming in here. Wide receivers need to create separation and catch every ball that hits their hands, especially with so few opportunities and time being given by the offensive line. So I'm going to address the second part of that text first. I think the offensive line has their holes.
Yep.
Great. We can put that on an offensive line that's, I don't even want to say young necessarily, but it's an offensive line that just hasn't seemed to string it all together yet. But I also think when the line does block, what does Charlie Brewer do? He doesn't make a ton out of it, you know? I mean, so then I think that now we address the first part of that text message. does that fall into the hands of wide receivers?
I think it has to. Okay. And I think they got to do more for Charlie Brewer after the catch. I mean, they're averaging 10 yards a catch, which is not phenomenal. That's a first down, granted, but it's not phenomenal when you average the entire group together. Charlie's doing his best, man. He's trying to get you the football in space. This scheme is trying to get you the football in space. You got to make something happen. You got to be special after the catch in order for this offense to go as it needs to go.
Looking across the stat line today, 204 passing yards for Baylor, 178 for West Virginia. Nothing flashy, but let me give you something, JD. These two teams combined for 23 penalties, 183 penalty yards.
Gosh.
It was not good football.
Not good football. Not good football at all. And as a whole, the team just needs to play better across the board, which is such a cliche thing to say, but as a whole, they just need to be better on the road. They didn't look locked in at all, Drake. Schematically, they did not look like they were playing well at all.
West Virginia gave Baylor the football for free on so many chances. How does one team have 6 turnovers and have a time of possession 46 minutes and 53 seconds compared to Baylor's 28 minutes? West Virginia nearing the margin of doubling up Baylor in time of possession with having 6 turnovers. That just shows how stagnant the BU offense was today.
It really, it's hard. You got to have both units playing well, and you can only pick them up so much if you're the Baylor defense. You can't say enough good things about the way that they played today. Down the stretch, just didn't catch enough breaks, it seemed like. But as a whole, you can't put too much on the defense there. We're going to take it to a break here in this center. What do you say, Drizzy?
JD, it's Drake Toll alongside JD Piquel, the Texas Farm Bureau Broadcast Center. Baylor 21, West Virginia 27, a loss in Morgantown. 0-5 there all time. You're listening to Central Texas' #1 college-driven digital radio hour, the SIGM 365 Baylor postgame show.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717, or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford, our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week. Locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. The annual tent sale's going on right now.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Dodge is the highest-ranked brand in initial quality according to J.D. Power. Now at Allen Samuels. Get special offers on Dodge cars and SUVs. Dodge Charger SXTs are now available with 2.9% financing for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Dodge Journey has 2.9 for 72 or choose up to $4,750 in cash and subprime offers. Performance. Dodge from Allen Samuels.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back into Texas Farm Bureau Broadcast Center. You're listening to myself, Drake Toll, alongside Baylor football alum J.D. Piquel on Central Texas' #1 caller-driven digital radio hour, SicEm 365 Baylor postgame show. Caller text in at 254-339-1122. We got one caller on the line, Tori Wiley. Tori, go ahead and talk to us, if you will.
Hi, I'm calling to ask if you think Fedora was too conservative with the play calling today.
J.D., take that.
Oh, boy, did we ever. The biggest thing that I had an issue with was not going north and south. And we talked about that earlier in this program. He seemed to just have an affinity for not going forward.
Yeah.
It was all lateral today, which I could not stand, especially when you have such great backs like Ebner.
Right.
Love it. I think he was too conservative in the run game, and then I think he was too conservative in the pass game. We talked about it earlier. So much speed on this team, Drake. So much speed out wide, particularly at receiver. Why are we not stretching the ball downfield? So emphatically, yes, we did not we were not aggressive enough on offense.
You know what I think that transfers into is that West Virginia, throwing the short game, they didn't have to be aggressive.
Yep.
I think that segues right into how West Virginia played today. Daggy goes 30 for 42. That's you're looking at a really high, just under 75% completion percentage. They were just dumping it off. 5 yards per completion, but that's all they really needed. Baylor couldn't really do that. They were super conservative, so now, okay, do we load it up? You see that pass to Sims for the touchdown late. If you open things up, how much more does that do? But again, I still don't trust Charlie Brewer 10 yards plus downfield. So we got some text coming in today as well. Got defense and special teams wins games. We had neither today. Miranda's a defensive guru. Defensive plays the rest of the year. I'm not even going to read the rest of that because I'm going to go ahead and answer it with Dave Aranda's not the problem and the defense is not the problem. West Virginia had the ball for 46 minutes. Great. They matriculated the ball down the field, the game of attrition, whatever you want to call it. JD, we turned the ball over 6 times today.
Yeah.
And you're going to blame the defense for a loss where the offense couldn't put up more than 21 on a mediocre West Virginia team?
That's just not fair by any stretch of the imagination. Defense and special teams do win the game. I would very much disagree with the fact that we did not have defense today. I think that is very much not true. Bernard is the leader of this defense, and he played a game today. Man, I'll tell you what, Jalen Petrie, he's going to be special. There is so much great personnel on this defense, and they showed up today in a big way. Like I said, if you hold a team to 27 points in the Big 12, more often than not, you got a good chance to win the football game, and it just wasn't in the cards today because you didn't have enough firepower on offense, and you missed 3 field goals. Obviously, abysmal.
We got more text coming in, 254-339-1122. This one, can Baylor handle Oklahoma State after today? How likely is it this loss turns into a snowball effect? Can Baylor handle Oklahoma State after today? Short answer, no.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned because we're going to find out here in Waco in a week.
But if you play like you did today in Morgantown, who do you beat in the... So looking at the rest of the schedule, maybe Kansas State. Maybe you sneak up on TCU, but you're not beating Oklahoma State. You're not beating Texas. You're not beating Oklahoma. This is a 4-loss Baylor team if they play like this, if not more. Hey, I'd be happy with 5-4 after seeing today.
And this loss is going to tell us quite a bit about Dave Aranda as a head coach. Obviously, personnel-wise, I think we're in good shape in terms of what we're going to be matched up with in the Big 12. But after a loss with a bye week, how do we adjust against the Oklahoma State team, which we really don't know enough about to match ourselves up against them? We know what we saw last year, but there's just so much new stuff on both sides of the football. We're going to find out, Drake. That's just the honest to goodness truth. I like this question. Most important thing to address before the next game is?
The offensive line.
Offensive line.
Can we can't buy a new one. We can't bring in new guys right now. I think you've got a lot of work to be done on the offensive line. I think that's what we need to focus on for the next game, that and maybe being a little bit more creative offensively and opening the playbook up just a little bit more with what we already have. How much has Fedora implemented? I was an Arkansas fan before coming to Baylor, okay? Chad Morris had 75% of his offense installed in year 3. So maybe Fedora's only got 50% of what he wants out there. If that's the case, we need to go ahead and put a little bit of an advance on that and try to put some more plays in the old repertoire. We got another text coming in here. Let's be honest, Dave Aranda wasn't hired to beat West Virginia. He wasn't hired to compete for a Big 12 championship this season. Wasn't he hired to compete for the Big 12 championship in 3 or 4 years? If so, shouldn't we relax a little bit, let the process work? JD, I think this is perfect. Obviously, you and I are going to be high on what Baylor did wrong today to try to expose some of the areas they can improve later on.
Always.
That's perfect. Dave Aranda, I mean, it's his first year. It's game number 2 as a head coach in general.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. My only worry is, will he have 3 to 4 years to be able to build his culture? I mean, if Baylor, for whatever reason, has 2 years in a row where they have 4, I mean, God forbid they have 2 4-win seasons, he's going to be out of there. So I hope they let him stay around, build his culture, build his program.
Did you 2 years, 4 wins?
Don't you think? I mean, two seasons of 4 wins, he's not going to stay around.
You're talking about the same Baylor team that in the 2000s, you transfer in the new millennium, you've got head coaches going 6 years, winning 3 games a season, and the whole town's rallying around them.
In today's day and age, with the social media the way it is.
Are we that good now?
Twitter will have his head. His shiny bald head. They will be all after him.
Smokey said it a couple weeks ago that, why doesn't Baylor get a lot of respect? And you guys talked about it. They talked about it on the afternoon show. Baylor's not Oklahoma, and they're not Texas. Dave Aranda can come in here, win 6 games a year, go to a bowl, and be here as long as he wants to, and that's okay.
Gotta go.
That's what Baylor is.
Gotta go.
We got a couple other text messages here. We got the last 3. We're going to close out this puppy. Charlie Brewer is Baylor all the way, but if the next step up in talent is to be made, it's now with Bohannon or Zeno. I love me Charlie Brewer, but better high talent is available from Bohannon and Zeno. Again, the sample size is so small. Charlie Brewer the guy is top 3 in every career statistic.
Not so fast.
At Baylor.
Not so
and
fast.
You've only seen what? A game from Bohannon and maybe a quarter from Zeno, and you're already looking to put those guys in. Don't jump ship yet, guys.
I promise you, the grown men that are being paid a lot more than I'm making, than probably who the person sending that text message is making, they're being paid to evaluate talent and put the best product on the field. If they think Charlie Brewer is the best chance for us to win football games, I have a hard time in good conscience disagreeing with that.
The defense forced 4 turnovers, forced 2 more not recovered, held West Virginia to 14 points in regulation. Defense wasn't the problem. Listen,
thank you.
That text there, that says it all. 14 points in regulation to a West Virginia team that you go back to Dana Holgerson, and now with Brown. This West Virginia team loves to score at a fast rate. They're a Big 12 team. It made sense for West Virginia to be in the Big 12. You hold them to 14 points in the entire 4 quarters, and you're blaming our defense?
If Baylor holds their opponents to 14 points the rest of the way, if they have, let's say, for example, they allow 14 points the next game, they will win that game. If they hold the rest of the Big 12, 14 points a game, they're going to be just fine.
That's a great text. Thank you. This is the last one. T-Rex says, game day Baylor Nation. Baylor 8-1 in the Big 12. Boy, that's optimistic. 8-1 in the Big 12 and champions of the conference. Take the bye week. Sick Oklahoma State. Now time to drink away the game. So let's address the last part of that message first. If there's anyone that you're going to do that for, it's probably today's. After the way that Baylor played and just the boring brand of football that we saw, it wasn't good football. But on the other hand, on the front half of that, 8-1, what are the odds, JD, that this Baylor team does what they did last year? They see the turnaround, and this squad can even walk out with 6 wins in conference play. I'd take 6.
It's way too soon to tell. It is way too soon to be able to make any definitive statement on the way Baylor is going to perform the rest of the season. Last week, when they beat Kansas by 47-14, we were ready to say, hey, Natty, give us the Natty, give Tristan Ebner the Heisman. Now this week we're worried about, hey, will they make a bowl game? When I don't even know how that's going to work this season. I don't think anybody knows how that's going to work this season.
Arkansas is going to make a bowl game this year. Everybody's going to a bowl.
Let's all calm
Baylor's
down.
Going to a bowl.
8-1, I think it's probably too optimistic right now, but also I don't think you can be too pessimistic right now at the same time.
Here's how we're going to end the show. 27-21, Baylor falls to West Virginia. Baylor fans, Baylor Nation, we are not entitled to 8-1 or 9-0 every season. We're not entitled to a Big 12 championship. We can't ask for that year in and year out. Tom Herman's not our head coach. We don't have some big Longhorns. We don't have an OU or a Schooner or any of that. That's not our fan base. We've got to calm down. One loss, we're not firing the staff. It's a new head coach. It's a new program. Give the guys a chance. We can't be entitled to winning every football game. So what? You lost to West Virginia in week 2. You fix your stuff. You win 5 games this season, and you feel okay about it. On the optimistic side, say you win 6 or 7. That's great. At the end of the day, be excited for what you have. It's not 2000. If it was, this radio show would be a whole lot different. So listen, hold on.
Thank you.
Dave Aranda, first year. Give the guy a shot. Baylor 1-1 after a 27-21 loss to West Virginia. This has been the Sikkim 365 postgame show. Myself, Drake Toll, alongside J.D. Piquel in the Texas Farm Bureau Broadcast Center. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
The Sikkim 365 radio postgame show is also brought to you by...
Here comes the blitz. Brewer well protected. One-on-one in the end zone. R.J. Sneed. He's got it for a Baylor touchdown.